day viewers, and welcome to another Onside SA soccer show. Paul is on his way to Joburg, so he's not in the studio this morning, but fortunately we have Stevie B in his Fulham studio where we'll be discussing the weekend and obviously the Premiership fixtures and Championship this weekend. But we kick off as always with our post-net last one standing competition, and last season we had 2 entries going into the last week. They went through, so we start again this week. Fortunately for both Ken Moby, who chose Liverpool, and Marco Govia, who were on Man City, they continued to round 2. Our first competition of this season, we had 1,003 entries. So thank you to everybody. Of that, 732 were successful. 263 were on Tottenham, 261 on Liverpool, 132 on Man City, 54 on Notts Forest, 13 on Arsenal, 6 on Leeds United, and 3 great selections of Sunderland. The guys that went out, 113 were on Chelsea, 52 on Brighton, 50 on West Ham, 21 on Aston Villa, 16 on Everton, 8 on Newcastle, 4 were on Brentford, 3 on Fulham, and 1 each on Bournemouth, Crystal Palace and Man United. Thanks as always to the Postnet gang, Chris Wheeler and his troops, of which there are Yvonne Barenser, Lance Whiteford, Julie Usher, Philip Goldberg, Mark Oliver, Lalita Boldani, Clifford Graf, Matthew Dorigo, David Wheeler, Yakub Khan, Robert Gardner, Anthony Pollock and Ashneil Ramkasoon. Thanks again, guys. Our pick of the round, we had 3 guys who unbelievably picked Sunderland. They are Andrew from Boston, Andre van Bussen, Steve Potter in the UK, and Robert Geet in Johannesburg. Our performance of the round went to Robert Geet as well, who selected Leeds United and Sunderland. Great start, Rod. The ladies, they always get a mention. So guys, bear with me. There are 50 of them. Starting with Montana and Tennille Verners, Lillian Duplessis, Jessica O'Connor, Linda Potts, Mia Rateson, Carissa Jugmahan, Patty Redman, Nicola Grove, Tracy Anderson, Lorraine Dalton, Pam Ellis, Amy and Holly Lafferty. I've got Michelle Ramsey, Leanne DeBoer, Rita Weston, Cindy Radell, Julia Bood, Angela Peterson, our reigning champion Sam Cooper Bull, Chanel Mudley, Janine Govender, Vishanta Kasiram, Chloe Fortman, Renee Roos, Janice Lafferty, Carla Quintus, Dora Roussos, Raquel Quintus Alexander, Michelle Botha, Kerry Varga, Kirsty Northend, Ancilla Jackson, Marlene Laveau, Babette Hawkins and Mauritius, Starlene Hoosen, Philly and Glova of Hollywood, Stacey Nagel, Harriet Sneyman, Georgia Harita in Johannesburg, Catherine and Pauline Young in the UK, Megan Gregg, Zan Michelle Viviers, Kerry Everett, Jocelyn Everett, Megan Kidd, and Sue and Blair Miller. Ladies, thanks as always. Guys, to let you know, our studio guys I had to enter because for 7 years I've been getting abused that I don't enter them. They have gone through, they were all on Notts Forest, so there were plenty smiles in the studio when I went through. There is a game tomorrow night between West Ham and Chelsea. It kicks off at 9 o'clock. So guys, please, if you want to pick Chelsea, which in my opinion look good things, I need your selections by 8 p.m. South African time. Good luck, guys. Now I go across. Steve, good morning. How you going?
I'm fine, thanks, bud.
Okay, I haven't spoken to Paul other than the fact that he's on Johannesburg, but Esgabej, I think that's his first name, Eze. What's the latest with the sale to? Is it Spurs or is it Arsenal?
Well, it looks, as of last night, my understanding is it looks like Arsenal have come in and looking to hijack. I mean, he was at Arsenal as a very young boy.
Yeah.
They let him go when he was a teenager, but he's an Arsenal fan, and I think that if Arsenal are able to do a deal, I think that he will jump at the chance of going there.
Yeah, I think it's a good signing. Where's he going to play if he does go? Because they've got Martinelli, they signed Nandueka from Chelsea, they've got Trossard. Would he play up front? Would he play in the midfield?
Well, I think he'll probably have the same sort of role as he has at Palace. Havertz is potentially out injured for a while.
Okay.
Trossard, I think, could be surplus requirements. So I don't see him playing out wide. He does like to cut in.
Yeah.
To be fair, on the left onto his right foot, but he's really certainly stood out in this last season, and particularly obviously winning the cup final goal and the Community Shield. I mean, and also we look at the quality of that strike against Chelsea last week, which unlucky for him was disallowed. So I think if it is about 60-something million. In today's world, that's a pretty decent price for a player, really, who's coming into his prime. Yeah,
I think he's a superb player. I'm surprised Spurs didn't jump the gun, but, Daniel Levy, I don't know. I think it's a terrible mistake from them. But anyway, time will tell. On to the weekend's fixtures. And the first game up, we spoke earlier, West Ham versus Chelsea. No love lost between the two, Steve. In my opinion, West Ham, I watched the first 15 minutes, a little bit unlucky, but the longer the game on, I don't know what's going on at that club. And Chelsea, I thought was a fair result against Palace. I fancy Chelsea, Steve. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I mean, they have a decent record against West Ham, particularly over there. I think his problem, Maresca, is he still doesn't know. Maybe he does, but I don't think everybody knows what his best 11 is.
Yeah.
It chops and changes from 1 week to the next. And then, if you look at players who were starters last season, they're on the fringes now.
Yeah.
So it might take a little while for them all to bed in. But I think Graham Potter is under a bit of pressure. He didn't really finish the season well.
Yeah.
I think if he starts badly, I think the fans there will definitely get onto him, and they certainly capitulated in the second half at Sunderland. So for me, I think Chelsea be close, but I think Chelsea.
Yeah, I think Chelsea will win fairly comfortably if they can grab an early one. The fans at that Olympic Stadium, they turn very quickly. If they have a good start, different story. But I went Chelsea to win an over 2.5 goals at 14-10. Big game on Saturday lunchtime, Steve. Man City, Tottenham. Both were impressive first-round victories. Can Tottenham cause an upset?
Well, I mean, if you look at last season, anybody saw that result coming. Was it 4-0? I mean, completely surprised everybody. I don't think they'll do that now. I think City looked fairly strong at times last week, and Tottenham played very well, although obviously it was against who are potentially the weakest team in the league. Yeah. But I think City will be favourites, but Tottenham I don't think are an easy touch this year. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. But I think City slight favourites.
Yeah, and tactically Thomas Frank hasn't got a bad record against, when he was at Brentford against City. I know they didn't win many, but they were always in the game. So I think tactically he'll go line up man for man in the middle of the park and try and frustrate them. But I just think City will edge it. Steve, a game where there should be plenty of goals, Bournemouth-Wolves. Bournemouth played well against Liverpool last week, but they could have conceded another 3 or 4. Wolves, I felt for them because the first 20 minutes they had chances, but once City got the first, it was open gates. It should be Bournemouth, Steve, but you never know with Bournemouth's back four. How do you see it?
Well, I think that's right, and I think obviously you can't sell 3 of your back 4 plus release the goalkeeper, and not have some consequences. But particularly second half, they played very well at Anfield, and when they got that second goal, I think Liverpool fans must have been getting a little bit nervy. But as you say, Wolves started okay, but once City scored, then there was only one winner. I think Bournemouth will be favourites. I don't think there'll be a lot in it, but I do think that the home team might just edge it.
Yeah, if you were going to back Bournemouth, I'd rather take Bournemouth to score over 1.5 team goals at like 7.5 to 10. Because I remember I was on Bournemouth to win the cup last week, and Wolves gave them a game. I think Wolves knocked them out on penalties. But this game, I think goals are guaranteed because it looks open gates with both back fours. Brentford, Steve, I watched the first 20 minutes against Notts Forest and they were nowhere. The game was over after 20 minutes. Aston Villa, I was disappointed. I fancied them last week against Newcastle, but there just didn't seem like there was something right in the club. Great chance to get back to winning ways, Steve, but can they do it?
I think they can. I think they'll be close. I mean, obviously, Brentford a lot again with the whole Whistler situation, who refuses to play.
Yeah.
They brought in Katara, their biggest money signing from Bournemouth. But losing and Buemo and Wissa not playing, and they're definitely going to be lacking up front.
Yeah.
They had a bit of a go in the second half at Forest, but the game, as you say, it was game over by half time. And I think Villa were a little bit disappointing against Newcastle.
Yeah.
But I think they've still got the quality. I think it'll be close, but I wouldn't be surprised if Villa just snatch it.
Yeah, I think the odds will shorten on Villa, just because Brentford are woeful at the moment and it's hard to trust them. And I was disappointed in what I saw from Villa. But of the two sides, you've got to fancy Villa. Relegation battle already, Steve. Two promoted sides, Burnley and Sunderland. This is going to be a tight encounter, but which way do you see it going?
I think it will be. I remember last season, Sunderland could have won that game.
Yeah.
They missed penalties, and I was impressed with what I saw of Sunderland. They really had a go, particularly in the second half.
Yeah.
A lot of good, young, exciting players. I feel for Burnley a bit. I don't think they strengthened particularly well, and that showed at Tottenham. I think Sunderland could go there and get a result. For me, Burnley should hold them, but I think Sunderland, if there was to be a winner, I wouldn't bet against Sunderland.
Yeah, I think if you are having a bet, under 2.5 goals does look the right way, but I agree this is going to be a tight. I'm going to have a bet here, Steve. I'm going to take over 3.5 bookings. I think this is going to get a bit feisty, because Burnley have to get a result. If they don't get a result, you can't say they're in trouble after 2 games, but it's an uphill task. On to our second page, and Arsenal, in my opinion, was slightly fortunate to beat Man United, but I expect them to get another result against Leeds, Steve, even though Leeds deservedly, in my opinion, beat Everton on Monday.
Yeah, Arsenal really were, they took that early lead and you thought, right, here we go. But actually, they were on the back foot most of the game. I thought United played well. But I think Arsenal back at the Emirates, I think they'll be stronger. Leeds did play well, first half particularly, and deserved that to win just about. So for me, Arsenal, but I think it might be a bit closer than maybe the other show.
Yeah, the problem with Leeds is they're a nice football playing side, and if they concede, they're going to try and play out from the back, and if they get caught, you go 1-0 down, and if they try again, they go 2-0 down, their heads could drop. I think there'll be goals here, Steve. There were 2 ways I looked at it. I went Arsenal to win over 2.5 was 8-10, but I took a chance Arsenal to win over 3.5 goals. I think Leeds United will score. I just like what I saw, but I think they're going to get overrun, especially late on. So Arsenal to win an over 3.5 total goals at 18-10. That was my suggestion. Steve, I think the next game is going to be feisty as hell. Crystal Palace, Notts Forest, with what happened in the European competitions. Eze has left. Well, he is leaving. Well, he should be leaving. Do you expect him to play?
Well, he's in the squad and may well play tonight. But I suspect if Arsenal do a deal, I don't think he'll play at the weekend, and I think that could make a difference. Because for me, if Eze doesn't play with everything that's going on, especially with Gahey as well, a little bit of uncertainty as to whether Liverpool are going to come in for him. I think Forest, who have really strengthened, fair play to them. They put their money where their mouth is. And Douglas Luiz is the next one who's likely to be in. I'm not sure whether it will be registered in time. I fancy Forest. I think if there was to be a winner, but if Eze isn't playing, I fancy Forest. Yeah,
I think there'll be goals in this thing. One thing about Forest, they got those big boys, Murillo and the other guy at the back. There's no prisoners with them, and they're good at set pieces along with Chris Wood. I took Notts Forest to score over 1.5 goals at 19-10. That's my suggestion. But the bookings, I had a look, over 3.5 bookings are 6-10. I think this is going to be a feisty affair. And of the two sides, I agree with Steve. If Eze and Guy don't play, Notts Forest could cause an upset. Steve, Everton, Brighton at the new stadium. The way they played on Monday, I could not believe. I lost a couple of £100 on corners. I could not believe how bad Everton were. At home, he's going to have to go for it. Surely, he can't sit back.
Yeah, I would think so. Obviously, you got a capacity crowd expected, huge, big game, big atmosphere. I have to think that he's going to start with Jack Grealish. I mean, you bring Jack Grealish with all his talents and stick him on the bench, he might as well he might have stayed at City. So I think he'll play Grealish, and I think that he'll want to put on a show. Brighton hit and miss. They didn't create that much against Fulham last week. Yeah. The only goal they didn't score from open play, just a penalty. I think Everton will get a result. I think the crowd will slap that ball into the net. I think it'll be tight, but I fancy Everton.
Yeah, that was a bet I did look at, whether I went for Notts Forest to score over 1.5 goals or Everton to score 1.5 goals at the price. I just don't know what to make of Everton, but I agree, you can't sit back at the new stadium. So Everton to score over 1.5 goals. Brighton always score, so both teams to score 8 to 10 looks a good thing. But I chanced, I'm going to chance Everton over 1.5 team goals at 17 to 10. Steve, I couldn't believe that Man United have won the last 8 games at the Cottage. Is that right?
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah, I think I've sat through them all. They're a bogey team. I mean, the last couple of seasons particularly, we have totally outplayed United, and they've scored right at the death and won.
Yeah.
But and yet they come to us, actually, for me, looking much stronger. And they really did look a different team on the front foot for a lot of the game against Arsenal. The defensively and obviously the goalkeeping is still an issue.
Yeah.
I can't believe they won't be looking for. They must be looking for a new goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And that might be us. For me, United are clear favourites. If we eke out a draw, I'd be very pleased.
Yeah, it's hard to trust. Last week for me was a free hit. Arsenal at home, big crowd, new formation, or new tactical formation with the strikers. This week, I think will be a little bit different. I just think Man United's midfield. Steve, your midfield can at least play, and they'll sit in front of the back four. Bruno, he worked hard, and Casemiro's not for me. But let's see, I just don't know. The Cottage is a nice tight pitch, this wing-back system. I hope he changes it, but I doubt it. I just don't trust him yet. I understand where you're coming from, Steve. I watched a little bit of your game last week, and it looked like a dinkum draw, and then they got the penalty, and I was glad you got the draw at the end, but I don't know, Steve. I don't know what to make. I think this is going to be tight. I just think of the draw 26 to 10. It won't suit United fans, but I don't know, Steve. Maybe the jinx carries on, but I've got no trust in United yet, especially with this goalkeeper. Every cross is going to be straight on him, and I don't know how we haven't signed the goalkeeper. I don't know, but a game after last week, United should win, but away from home, I have no trust, Steve. I won't be having my money. Big game on Monday night, and if ever another feisty affair, hopefully it doesn't get into the stands. Newcastle-Liverpool, Steve. Even money Liverpool?
Yeah, I think that's a fair odds. I mean, look, they always look like they're going to score, but defensively, he's got to tighten things up. I mean, they were rocking in the second half. They were all over the place. Yeah. Obviously, he's trying to bed in couple of 2 new fullbacks, and he took but when he took Frimpong off and brought on Endo, that really didn't work because Endo was out of position. So, but Newcastle, as you say, with the whole Isak situation, there's going to be no love lost there. I think the fans are going to be really behind them, passionate, and I think the team will maybe want to show something. But for me, Liverpool should start as favourites. I think there'll be goals though.
Yeah. I took 7.5 to 10 Liverpool to score over 1.5 goals. They did completely outplay them in the cup final, but they had Isak and this whole saga around him. I'm not impressed with the formation, Steve. I know they're scoring goals away from home. Let's see, but I just hope the Isak situation gets resolved. But I think it's going to be a feisty affair Monday night. On to the championship, and we've had a few games of late. And first game up is Friday night, Steve. Derby, Bristol City. Which way are you going?
Yeah, I mean, Bristol City had a great win on the opening day, but then didn't really sort of move on a little as I expected them to last weekend. Derby involved in a lot of goals last week. Came from behind with 3-2 up and then conceded 3 late goals to Coventry. So I think there's going to be goals in this game. Wouldn't be surprised if they maybe cancel each other out. But I think definitely goals is the way to go. Yeah,
I'll be taking even money, both teams to score. Yes, I think that's a great price. Derby County, as I said, they were 3-2 up and all of a sudden the tide came in playing Coventry. But let's see, Bristol City. I was on them last week with you, Steve, but they couldn't score against Charlton, drawing 0-0 at home. Maybe they'll be slightly better away from home, but I'm actually looking forward to this game. So even money, both teams to score is my suggestion. Charlton, Leicester City, Steve, which way are you going?
Yeah, well, Leicester really have been fairly unconvincing. But the sounds of it, weren't at their best last week. Preston, big result for Preston. Played well against Sheffield Wednesday, but again left it late. I wouldn't be at all surprised if this could end up a draw. I think that they could hold Leicester.
Yeah, Charlton 2 games, they haven't conceded, and last week's draw at Bristol City was a decent result. Leicester City, my brother was at the game and he wasn't impressed with them either. Preston won deservedly. I was very surprised, but you never know with teams like Leicester. The signing on fee, I'm sure there's a lot of them would like to get a move back to the Premiership. So maybe, let's see, but I agree with you, Steve. I think it's got a draw written all over it, 23-10. I think it's not a bad price. Hull City Blackburn Rovers. I see Ollie McBurney's at Hull City, Steve. You think they can win again?
I think they can. They've brought in a few players.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be at all surprised if they get a result of this one. Blackburn have started fairly poorly. I mean, two defeats for them.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be challenging this season. I think Hull could win this one. I fancy them at home.
Only thing is Blackburn, they did play West Brom away and Birmingham at home where they were 1-up and got beat 2-1. So they have played two of the better sides. I agree, Hull City, fair start. Got to fancy some of the two teams, but I took 11-10 both teams to score, Steve. I think there'll be goals in this, as you say. So I'd rather side on the goals market. Swansea City, 11-10, Steve, has had my money already. Am I right?
Yeah, I like Swansea. I think at home, I think they'll do okay. I mean, obviously, Watford, you're not sure what you're going to get. But away, they've struggled. I fancy what Swansea are. I'm afraid for my brother's team, I think it's a home win for me.
But I agree. That Watford, you just never know what you're going to get. There's so many players coming in and out, let alone the manager. But I fancy Swansea City 11-10 to get a result. On to our second page in the Championship, and a team who've impressed me, what I've seen, Birmingham City. I think they'll beat Oxford United at home, Steve. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think they should do. I think they'll be too strong. They had a good win last week. Came from behind, a couple of goals. They're buying. They're putting their money where their mouth is. I think this could be a difficult season for Oxford. They did very well last season to stay up, but I think this season could be a tricky one, and I think Birmingham will be too strong for them on the day.
Yeah. Steve, my fancy to go up this year's Coventry City. They let us down in the first week when they drew at home against Hull City. Do you see them rebounding at home against QPR?
Yeah, I would expect them to. I mean, that was a big win away at Derby, especially to come from behind and get 3 late goals.
Yeah.
QPR have just brought in one of League One's best players last season, Richard Konev. Paid a lot of money for him from Wickham, but they were well beaten at Watford. I think that was a little bit disappointing, but I expect that to be a home win for me.
My mate Tweels Horsman will be at the game, so I'll get a perfect assessment of the game, but to me, should be Coventry City. Norwich City, poor opening defeat at home against Millwall, but they had a great result last week. Middlesbrough, couldn't believe they beat our Millwall team last week, Steve. I think this is a tight game. Which way are you siding?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Middlesbrough surprised a lot of people. That was a fairly convincing win in the end, and evidently played very well. Norwich, as you say, slipped up at home, but then came back with the result last week. I think there'll be goals in this game, but I wouldn't be surprised they cancel each other out, though.
Yeah, I sided with both teams to score at shade under 8-10. Guaranteed goals. And I fancy Josh Sargent. He's a big American up front. He's 19-10 to score anytime. He's the main guy. I don't think they're going to sell him before the transfer window ends. So I'm all over Norwich City to get a few goals. My beloved Preston, speaking to my brother, he said deserved victory against Leicester last week. But I watched Ipswich last week, Steve, against Southampton. They seem to have this cockiness about them. I don't know why. Southampton ended up being the better team. It was a fair result. My boys would take a draw here, but somehow I don't think we're going to get it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Ipswich have started off with 2 draws. They haven't exactly set the world alight. Lost 1 or 2 players, or more than 1 or 2. Brought in Chaka Akpom, from who was previously at Middlesbrough and was at Ajax. Birmingham were trying to get him, but he's gone to Ipswich. I think once he starts, I think he'll start scoring goals. I think they will start as favourites, but Preston can make themselves hard to beat at home. So for me, maybe a draw, but otherwise Ipswich by a goal.
Yeah, when both teams have scored 9-10, can't back against my boys Preston, but hopefully we get a point at least. On to our final page in the championship, and a team that's had a bad start, Steve, Sheffield United. I don't see it improving against Millwall. Do you?
Well, they really have had a disappointing start. Obviously, they got themselves a point, but Millwall, really good win away from home first off. Disappointing home result last week, so you're not sure what you're going to get from them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get a result, maybe get a point.
Yeah, I think this has got score draw written all over it. I took Millwall to win or draw and both teams to score yes at 22-10. Normally goals with Sheffield United, and I think Millwall are better away from home than at home. So that's the way I've gone. In my exotics, I'm going away, win and draw. Southampton, Steve, what I've seen in the first 2 weeks, I think they'll be the team to beat in the league. Stoke City have won both of their games, but I fancy the home team. Are you with me?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're still trying to hold on to one or two players.
Yeah.
I think for the championship teams, they'll be relieved when the window's over. Yeah. So they know what their squad's going to be. Yeah, I think they've done well, Southampton. I thought they were the stronger team for part of the game at Ipswich. As you say, Stoke has started very well, but for me, I think Southampton will should just edge it.
Yeah, I think there'll be goals, but you've got to side with Southampton. Our last two games, Steve, West Brom, 2 victories in a row. You think they'll make it 3 in a row against Portsmouth?
I think they will. They've had a decent start. Ryan Mason, deserves a bit of a break as manager. Obviously, he's stepped in several times at Tottenham, but this is an opportunity for him to make a name for himself. And they've had a steady start, couple of wins. That's what they need to do, and I think they'll win this. I think it'll be fairly close because I don't think they score lots of goals, West Brom, but I think they expect them to win this one.
Yeah, I've got to agree. And last but not least, in a game I think there will be plenty of goals, Wrexham against Sheffield Wednesday. See, the home side bankers?
Yeah, I think they will be. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday, all their problems are still there. Came unstuck big time last week at home. Wrexham have brought in players. They've just spent 8 million or 10 million on Nathan Broadhead. Yeah. They're looking to bring in more players before the window shuts. They're going to have a bit of a go, but they do concede goals, and I'm not sure they will this weekend. I fancy Wrexham by at least a couple.
Yeah, I've got to agree. Wrexham to win by more than one. The -1 handicap is 15-10. I think that's worth a dip. Steve, pressure time as always. I need your best bet and value bet, please.
Yeah, I'm going to dip into the championship. I fancy Swansea. I think at home, I think they'll have a semi-decent season. And for my value bet, I'm going to go for Forest. I just think that they've spent a lot of money. I think that on the back of last season, I just feel for Palace. I think if Eze doesn't play or Gahey, then I think that they're there for the taking for Forest. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, my best bet, I can't believe it's 7.5. I've seen 8-10 on some bookies. Chelsea, I think that's a big price, Steve. I think they'll destroy West Ham, and I'm going to chance Millwall again. I was on them last week. They let me down, and 28-10 Millwall. I think it's worth a nibble. I'll have a few rand on that. Steve, well done. Get to last one standing, round 2. Don't forget your pick, please.
No, I'll let you have that later.
All right.
Cheers, Buzz.
All the best, Steve. Enjoy Sunday's game.
Bye.
Take care. It's,
I hope so. Bye.
Cheers, Steve. UK correspondent Stevie Brown. It's MTM semi-finals this weekend, but we had a slew of games in the PSL this week. Chippa United 1, TS Galaxy 4. Durban City 1, Golden Arrows 1. I watched that. Fair result. 2 bad goals, but I thought my old team were going to sneak it at the end. Kaizer Chiefs continue their good run, beating Richards Bay. Orbit College came back to ground when they got beat 3-0 at home by Sekhukhune. And Siwelela, the old Supersport, lost 1-0 at home to Polokwane. Last night, Osotho beat Maruma Gallants 1-0 in Umlazi. Magezi couldn't hold on and they lost 2-0 to Sundowns. And Pirates, in a good game, deservedly beat Stellenbosch 1-0. On to the second leg of the MTN. And the first game between Sundowns and Pirates ended 1-1. Sundowns don't get beat in Pretoria, and it's hard to see them not winning this particular game. But in the exotics, I've thrown the draw. I think it's going to be a tight game. Sundowns haven't had the greatest of pre-seasons. Remember, they did play in the World Club. Pirates always give them a go. I don't think they can win in 90 minutes. I think their best chance is going to be on penalties. But to me, if I was going to have a bet, I would definitely go win and draw Sundowns. But I'm looking forward to this particular clash. The second game is between Sekhukhune and Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch played at home at the rugby stadium, Donnie Cradham's rugby stadium, and they beat beat Sekhukhune 2-0. Sekhukhune is a team I like. I think they're a good team under Eric Tinkler. I think they'll win this particular game. So 15-10 is definitely worth the bet. Whether they can overturn the 2-0 deficit is another story. But for me, Sekhukhune 15-10 will definitely have my money. On to our exotics for the weekend. And the first one is our soccer six. I'm going Leicester, win and draw at Charlton Athletic. Going with Man City, I've added the draw at home against Tottenham Hotspur. Hull City, win and draw at home against Blackburn Rovers. I'm going for Swansea City to win at home against Watford. Norwich City in the draw at home against Middlesbrough. And I had to go for Ipswich Town to avoid defeat at my beloved Preston North End, 192. On to our second soccer six. I'm going Mamelodi Sundowns, win and draw against Orlando Pirates. Bournemouth, win and draw against Wolves. Aston Villa to avoid defeat at Brentford. Going with Burnley, win and draw at home against Sunderland. Real Mallorca, win and draw at home against Celta de Vigo. And I'm going for Sekhukhune United to beat Stellenbosch, 192. On to our soccer 10 for Saturday. I'm going Sundowns, win and draw against Pirates. Bankering Eintracht Frankfurt to beat Werder Bremen. Going with VfB Stuttgart, win and draw against Union Berlin. Bournemouth to avoid defeat at home against Wolves. And going for Aston Villa to avoid defeat at Brentford. On to the second page, again Burnley win and draw against Sunderland, and Real Mallorca win and draw against Celta de Vigo. Two bankers, Sekhukhune United to beat Stellenbosch and Arsenal to beat Leeds United. And our final game in the Serie A, Genoa win and draw against US Lecce, 288. On to the Soccer 13, which will be no doubt a bumper pool, bankering Arsenal to beat Leeds United, Bournemouth to beat Wolves, Aston Villa win and draw at Brentford, and Burnley win and draw at home against Sunderland. Another two bankers, Birmingham City to beat Oxford United and Coventry City to beat Queen's Park Rangers. Norwich City win and draw at home against Middlesbrough. On to our second page, I'm going Ipswich Town, win and draw at Preston, and Millwall win and draw at Sheffield United. Another two bankers, Southampton to beat Stoke City and West Brom to beat Portsmouth, and ending with two away win and draws. Bradford City win and draw at Peterborough, and Barnsley win and draw against AFC Wimbledon, 256. On to our budgies bets for the weekend. I'm going Chelsea to beat West Ham and over 2.5 total goals. Then I'm going over 2.5 goals, both teams to score yes in the Bournemouth versus Wolves clash, and Arsenal to beat Leeds United and over 3.5 total goals, 2,500 to 200. My team goal sides, I'm going Chelsea, Bournemouth, Notts Forest and Liverpool, all to score over 1.5 goals, a minimum of 2,600 to 200. On to the championship, I'm going Swansea City to beat Watford. I'm going Millwall to win or draw and both teams to score yes against Sheffield United. And I'm going for Josh Sargent to score any time for Norwich City against Middlesbrough, 3,800 to 200. My both teams to score sides are Hull Blackburn, Norwich Middlesbrough, Preston Ipswich Town and Southampton Stoke City, 2,400 to 200. On to the Spanish La Liga, where I'm going for a treble. I'm going for Atletico Madrid and Elche, over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no. So that's Atletico Madrid to win 3-0 or 4-0. Then I'm going Athletic Bilbao to beat Rayo Vallecano. And on Monday night, both teams to score yes in the Sevilla-Getafe match, 2,700 to 200. And our Collis King 6 or Nexa. I'm going Chelsea to beat West Ham, Arsenal to beat Leeds United, Birmingham City to beat Oxford United, Coventry City to beat QPR, Atletico Madrid to beat Elche, and Athletic Bilbao to beat Rayo Vallecano, 2,300 to 200. For the guys in our posted last one standing, please remember there is a Friday night game. So I'll need your selection by latest 8 p.m. South African time. And to everybody else, please remember to stay on side.